So hello you guys and welcome back to my channel. It's time to talk about episode 3 and 4. I know I'm a bit late on this video. I know episode 5 is out and I've already done the reaction. I'll be talking about that sometime next week. But yeah, episode 3 and 4. Before we get into that, as always, the more extended version of my reactions go up over on Patreon. There's a whole bunch of other shows over there. There's live streams, film reactions, bunch of fun stuff. And the link to my Twitter, Instagram, anywhere that you can find me is in the description box down below. Also, yeah, this week's Yellow Jackets reaction got copyright blocked, and it's like my third Yellow Jackets reaction to do that. So I'm gonna have to, I don't know, I'm gonna have to think about that. I'm probably gonna put those uploads on pause just for now. But yeah, getting into Dead City episode 3. So I feel like the Negan and the Jenny flashbacks worked really well in this episode. Getting to see his frustration for her, you know, him telling her, like, you gotta try and call out to me. If something happens, you need to tell me. You know, he's very stern with her, but then you see he flips back to nice guy parent mode, where he kind of realises that he has to be softer when dealing with her. I mean, we see him teach her the Lucille whistle for when she gets into trouble. He eventually ends up finding the bear and giving the bear back to her, which actually... the end of, I think it was episode 2, we see Maggie about to burn the bear, or maybe it was the end of episode 3, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Yeah, it was the end of this episode. That bear comes into play because Maggie finds the bear and she's about to burn it, and we see her have this moment of, should I or shouldn't I? That caused like a lot of talk and controversy among viewers, because her burning the bear would have essentially been her wiping the fact that Jenny was on the island of Manhattan. She later explains, and it is understandable to an extent, don't get me wrong, to an extent, that if she'd given the bear to Negan, Negan would have known that Jenny was on the island, and then Negan would have wanted to completely change plans and go look for her. So it's understandable why Maggie wouldn't want to tell Negan, because Herschel is the only thing that she cares about. Yes, that is very cold. There's a child on the island of Manhattan that you were about to just hide, I guess, or conceal the fact that she was here. I mean, Jenny's a capable kid, but that would have been very cold to just hide the fact that she was here. But at the same time, I can understand why. The only thing that Maggie cares about is her kid. Her kid is like the only thing in the world she has left. She has lost every family member she has ever had. She lost her husband. I don't blame her for doing whatever she needs to do to get Herschel back. But yes, it was a cold move nonetheless. Anyway, back to Jenny. We see her using a mini fridge to paddle her way across into Manhattan, which is just... it's genius. It was so silly, so smart. You have people talking about how, like, you can't escape Manhattan. Manhattan is so hard to escape. But at the same time, you have a little, like, 10-year-old child just paddle her way into the city, completely unbeknownst to anybody. A scene that I really liked in this was the beeswax scene between Luther and Negan. You see Negan asking him, like, oh, what is that? And Luther tells him that it's good for wounds or for healing things, and he doesn't give Negan any. Negan asks, and Luther specifically is like, no. And you see Negan, he has this crestfallen look on his face, but it's like, I don't know, in a way it struck me for two reasons. One, Negan's still that outsider, no matter where he goes, no matter who he's dealing with. He's always this person that's just on the outskirts of any community that he's in. No one really fully accepts him. But also that there would have been a time where Negan would have been the one that had the supplies. He would have been the one that had things that people wanted, and he would have been the one to say no. He would have been the one to reject people what they need. So it's just, I liked that scene a lot. We got to learn about Tommaso and Amaya's background, about how they got here, about their kind of growing pains, I guess, getting used to the apocalypse. They also explain about how the bridges were blown up and they thought people were coming here to help them, but no. And then the Croats swooped in offering help and supplies, but like in a fucked up way, very reminiscent of Negan, obviously. Very much a nothing is for nothing kind of deal, which is a skill and a characteristic trait that he inherited from Negan. Speaking of which, we also hear Negan talk about the fella from down south, where he's telling his own story basically as a cautionary tale, and Maggie gets to be the one to say, like, that he was overthrown, or that basically he met his demise eventually. And it's just, there's something so bittersweet about seeing them talk about that whole time of their lives or time of the show in such a hindsight way, that now it's just a cautionary tale. That the old Negan is, you know, dead, or at least he's in a very deep hibernation, because we do see the old Negan resurface at times. But yeah, that his impact had spread so much. I mean, it created the Croat, and God knows who else was impacted by the Saviors or by Negan directly to go on and become like the Croat, whatever. Like, you don't know how many other people out there are ex-Saviors or were under Negan's rule and decided to take some of his teachings and run with it. That's the fucking scary thing. I liked getting to see Madison Square Garden. I thought that whole setup was pretty cool. I do love seeing well-known landmarks or well-known places in disaster or apocalypse shows. I like seeing them be reused or seeing them be taken over by nature. Or like in this case, it was like a base and there was zombie things going on in the ring in the middle of MSG. That was, I really did like that. And I loved how your man used his boot as a weapon. When he was chained to the pole and made fight walkers, he really just went to town with his boot. I see why he has survived this long. Maggie's little box of memories was another main focal point of this episode. Seeing her with the drawing of Glenn, seeing her with the old family photos, it really does just hit home that she really has like nothing left. She's got nothing. All she has is Herschel. But Negan and Maggie have that fascinating energy between them anyway, where as soon as they start to open up, as soon as they start to speak, something will happen and they'll retreat back in among themselves like a rubber band ball. And we saw that, I guess, in this episode. The Croat's background was pretty cool. Learning that he lost his family to cannibals, and then that's how he later got on with Negan. He got in with Negan. Negan kind of took him in under his wing. So it's understandable why the Croat ended up the way he did. You got this guy that's lost everything, has nothing, is a bit emotionally unstable after what he went through, and then is taken in by Negan. It's easy to see why his personality or his person would be completely shaped and altered forever by somebody like Negan. But he ran with it. I mean, like, he ran with it to the extreme. So episode 4, let me just say that the opening to this episode is my favourite we've had from Dead City. It's one of my favourite intros we've had to a show in such a long time. Getting to see old Negan, getting to see Lucille, getting to see Simon, getting to see old Walking Dead vibes. And I just think it's funny because like he was on top of the world at that point in time. Well, he was on top of his little world back when he was running the Savior's compound, back when he was Negan. But it's funny to see how that persona that he created is going to stay with him and haunt him forever. He's always going to have ghosts from his past running at him, no matter where he goes. I mean, the Croat fucking ended up in Manhattan of all places. There was a very interesting moment between Negan and Maggie again in this episode where he said, I don't know, he kind of looked nervous to be getting ready to go face the Croat again. And there's a point where he says that he's kind of worried to get near him, that the Croat's going to be singing a song that he doesn't want to hear anymore. But it's like, I made a point in my reaction. That song is Negan's song. The Croat just covered it. He covered it and made some creative changes, took some creative liberties with it, but it's Negan's song. And I think a big part of it is the shame that Negan is just like drenched in of what he was, and also now being faced with the reality of look what you did. Not even necessarily look what you did. We're not talking about the lineup here. We're talking about look at the people that you helped create, that you helped shape. So that's why I think the Croat is a fantastic villain. It's a fantastic villain in that way. But yeah, during that flashback anyway, we see that the Croat really is balls to the wall insane. He is truly brutal. You see Negan standing almost in disbelief looking at him like, oh wow, we need to get rid of you. And you have Simon yelling at the Croat saying, we don't kill kids. Even though Simon does. And this is such a hot topic, it's such a hot point of debate. Anytime I say, yeah, no, Simon does kill kids, people argue that point in the comments. Simon did kill kids. Simon took out all the scavengers. Now look, we don't really know the age of them, fair enough. But we know that all of the men or boys that he killed from Oceanside, we know there was teenage kids involved. And I had someone in my comment section, oh my god, I had someone in my comment section say, yeah, but like teenagers aren't kids. Yeah, they are. Now, but to be fair, that was a little bit later in the Walking Dead's storyline. So someone else brought up the very good point of Simon at this point in time hadn't devolved into the Simon that we know and that did all of those things, that this probably was before a lot of that shit happened, which is a fair point. That is a fair point. But again, so you have this room where you have Negan, Simon and the Croat, right? The intro to this episode. Two of those characters go truly dark side and really, really past the point of no fucking return. Both of them were taking teachings and direction directly from Negan. They were kind of using Negan as a mentor. You could say, with Simon, yeah, he was Negan's right-hand man, but he was also like his own independent person, which he was, yeah. But like one character going a bit dark side is, you could argue, just coincidence. But two. And then you also have Brandon as well in a later episode of The Walking Dead. Remember that little motherfucker? We have seen examples of people taking Negan's teachings or taking Negan's philosophies And yes, they do tweak them and change them to their own advantage. That is true, yeah. But it doesn't change the fact that all of these really dark characters came from Negan. Anyway, yeah, so getting back to this episode. So Negan had Luther killed last episode. He murdered him dead inside the kitchen, bait his face to death with a cheese grater, and then pushed him back on top of something. So Luther's dead. Nobody knows yet, but Maggie pieces it together when she sees the beeswax, and she's like, oh my fucking god. And she was just about to open up to Negan and tell him about the Jenny situation, but then she saw the beeswax and was like, you're keeping secrets from me. And then she just didn't tell him. The whole scene in Madison Square Garden where you have Negan skipping through the corridors whistling and the Croat following him, that was really cool. Really, really weird. The Croat was like super fucking excited to catch up with him. He was like a kid on Christmas morning. He was just trying to find the Negan, like whack-a-mole, but darker. I really do like him as a villain though. The Croat, there is something truly unnerving about him. He's a good villain, but I think a big part of that falls on the actor. He's got a fantastic way of doing very unnerving things. You know, sounds, mannerisms, the way he laughs, the way he kind of runs. There is something very unsettling about him. And it is just top fucking notch. I'm really, really, truly enjoying him as a villain. And I'm glad that we're staying with the one goddamn villain. At least we got one villain or one group of villains for this season. It wasn't just like, oh, the Croat is such a bad guy. And then we just like disperse of him within 2 episodes. I'm glad he was given time to simmer. He was given time. But yeah, getting back to the Croat, you can see this truly unhinged disappointment in his eyes when he throws the lieutenant over the barrier and Negan catches him. And the Croat is disappointed. You see him go, oh no. You can see him like, what are you doing? You're not supposed to save people. He's so disappointed in him. And then it becomes how much of Negan in the Croat's head is Negan, and how much of Negan in the Croat's head is what the Croat perceived him to be or thought he could be or built him up as over time mentally. Then we get the Simon never listened unhinged fucking moment because he was like shit talking Simon trying to make him out to be a shitty right hand man, but like, no, not him, not the Croat. He was better. It makes you wonder, what would Simon have devolved into if he had stuck around, if he had survived longer? Probably something like this crazy son of a bitch. So yeah, we end the episode with them splitting up. Maggie and Cole go down into the tunnels and Negan ends up going off with, I think his name is Pearly, the lieutenant guy that was hunting him, searching for him. Yeah, so I thought they were 2 pretty strong episodes. I'm very excited to see the finale. I'm very, very, very excited to see how they end up finishing this season. One thing that I will say is, I'm guessing there's going to be some sort of power struggle because Negan he's known for mindfuckery. And I think if he and the Croat got left alone for any amount of time, he would be able to push the Croat back into being right-hand man material, push him down into being inferior to him. That Negan would come back in, you know, dick swinging in the wind, like, no, I'm the fucking leader, you know, I'm in control here. And the Croat would just kind of follow him. So I think that could be interesting to see. And we do see the Croat's in cahoots with somebody else in the episode 5 that we just saw. But I'm not going to talk about that yet because I'm going to be doing a chat video on that next week. But yeah, I really liked this. I think it's a very strong season. It's going from strength to strength. It's not dragging its heels. It's not putting in shit that's irrelevant. It's killing it. No pun intended. But yeah, that is it for this reaction, you guys. I didn't even do a reaction. But yeah, that is it for this chat video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to leave your thoughts below. Let me know, what do you think so far? Is it what you expected it? How are we feeling about the Negan and the Maggie situation? Because that is causing a lot of debate online. I'm seeing a lot of hate for Maggie, which I believe is unjustified. I am on her side. But at the same time, I'm really enjoying Negan's character. It's funny people's opinions, because I've gotten comments that range from, how can you like Negan? Like, he's so evil, he's so whatever, to, whoa, you hate Negan, you're just a Negan hater. And I'm like, I'm neither. I love Negan's character. I think he's a fantastic character. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to justify away everything that he does. That's what makes him an interesting character. That's what makes him so fascinating to watch. And especially when you go back over The Walking Dead and you look back on his character growth and stuff. He's fucking fascinating. I'm not saying he's a good person. I'm saying he's a great character. But it's interesting how people pick up on a point like that and they'll pick it apart and hear what they want to hear from it. Some people hear that I hate him. Some people hear that I love him. And I'm like, huh. So yeah, let me know your thoughts down below. How are you finding this season and what do you hope to see from the finale? I can't wait. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching and I will talk to you all soon.